Spring has finally arrived as the New York Red Bulls 2 host the Tampa Bay Rowdies on a gorgeous Saturday afternoon from Red Bull Arena. This one's going to be a fun one. Red Bulls 2 looking to continue a strong start to the season. They host one of the hottest teams in USL in the Tampa Bay Rowdies. I'm David Goss, alongside the man, the myth, the legend. He's here for this one. So USL action on a gorgeous day. What are you looking forward to in this one?
I'm looking forward to goals. I'm expecting goals. Both these teams are scoring a lot of goals this year. They're historically scoring a lot of goals, so I'm looking forward to that today.
These two teams have put up some high-scoring games, as you said. One of the reasons that this team has been hot in the Tampa Bay Rowdies, Leo Fernandez of the Tampa Bay Rowdies had a goal and an assist in the last game and has really let it go this week.
Yeah, he's a player that's streaky. He's been streaky throughout his career, so to get this many goals early in the season could bode well for him, not just tonight, but for the future games as well.
Leo Fernandez, 3 goals this year, as I said, a goal and assist in the last game. And then on the flip side, the man who's going to try and slow him down, Evan Loro, the goalkeeper for New York Red Bulls 2.
Yeah, look, you've got a team that's scoring a lot of goals against a goalkeeper that's not that's in top form right now. So hey, I'm expecting it to be an exciting game and him to be tested as well.
Evan Loro expecting to have to do a lot. He saved this Red Bulls 2 team in the playoffs against Tampa Bay last year and helped them sneak out that Eastern Conference semifinals win. Changes coming to the lineups. We'll have that for you. And first half action coming up in just a moment.
With MSG Go, the game goes where you go. So you can watch live Red Bulls games anywhere you want. It's free and easy because if you get MSG, you get MSG Go. Watch your favorite team wherever you are with MSG Go, presented by Lexus. Download it for free where you get your apps.
One of the nation's leading heart programs. A shared sense of compassion, innovation, and expertise. Perfectly orchestrated so your world never misses a beat. Hackensack Meridian Health, life years ahead.
As we said, spring has finally come. 80 degrees here at Red Bull Arena for this one. New York Red Bulls 2 against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Let's take a look at the starting lineups for these two teams. You look at Tampa Bay, and they get to start the exact same team as last game, a 5-0 win. A few former Red Bull 2 players in there, David DeGem at right back and Junior Fleming as one of the wingers and attacking midfielders. Hunter Gorski and Neil Collins close out that back line, and then a ton of experience in midfield. Joe Cole and Marcel Schaefer, 2 European champions with their clubs, as well as Georgi and Ristov up top, who's 1 goal away from setting the Tampa Bay Rowdies record. And then on the flip side for New York, a 4-3-3 for this one, as Coach Wolenek has gone back and forth. Hassan Endam and Fidel Escobar get the center back pairing today. Andrew Tenari will move into to midfield a little bit deeper to fill in for Steven Echeverria, the holding midfielder who's out with an injury. And then up top, a lot of firepower. Armando Moreno, Stefano Bonomo, Carlos Rivas.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you're talking about a very experienced midfield against a very inexperienced midfield, so I'm interested to see how that plays out. And then that back line today, we're still looking at that back line with Red Bull 2 to see who's going to solidify that, what system they're going to play, so let's see how they play today.
Coach Wolenek still trying to figure it out. Five-man back line struggled defensively in his first 2 games, has shifted now to the 4-man back line. And then you look over on the other side for this Tampa Bay Rowdies team, and Stuart Campbell here has been a part of this franchise for a while now and has a chance to try and lead them higher than they did last season as these 2 teams kick off. And he can't avoid talking about it, that Tampa Bay Rowdies last year, a very good season, their first year in USL. New York Red Bulls 2 as a lower seed, go to their building, knock them off in the Eastern Conference semifinals, 2-1 in extra time. How much of that carries over, especially for a Rowdies team that has a lot of similar players?
A lot carries over. I mean, you can say all you want that it doesn't matter. You can say the roster changes, things change. But there's definitely a chip on their shoulder going into the game today, especially when they were a lower seed, no one expected much out of them, and they were able to pull off a win.
Our head officials for this one, Alan Kelly in the center, his 2 assistants, Tom Feliz and Joe Zawatowski, and Luis Arroyo, his 4th official, as these 2 teams get us started. New York Red Bulls 2 in their home white with red shorts going right to left. And of course the Tampa Bay Rowdies in what has become over the years in the American soccer landscape, the famous yellow and green stripes going left to right for this game. Cody Mizell in goal for this Rowdies team, already 2 clean sheets. And we mentioned Tampa on a tear, a 5-0 win in their last match at home to Ottawa, and all 5 of those goals came in the final 30 minutes. So this is a team that's feeling very good right now.
Absolutely, but if I'm the Red Bull 2s, I'm thinking about that first 60 minutes. What did they do well to keep a clean sheet for those first 60 minutes, right? Yeah, they gave up 5 for the final 30, which is not good, but they were obviously very difficult to break down. And Tampa showed some patience to wait to break them down, and then once they opened them up, they scored a lot of goals. But ultimately, those first 60 minutes is what I would be looking at to say, let's model that game plan for ourselves today and make sure we keep them from scoring any goals against us.
For a Red Bulls team, Red Bulls 2 team that is struggling right now defensively with their identity, we mentioned the formation changes. They've played 3 center backs, a 5-man back line. They've played 4 in the back. Echeverria, the really one true holding midfielder, out for this game. Where are the nerves for those teams and those players as Moreno gets forward now, looking for an angle to shoot. He gets the shot away, and it's inches wide.
Look, with Echeverria out of the team, someone has an opportunity to step up. But what that ultimately does mean when you have a guy that's your holding midfielder is that there's a hole to fill. And that if I'm Tampa, I'm looking to exploit that all game long. I have so much experience in the midfield that I'm looking to exploit that for the entire match and really test that young midfield from start to finish.
Armando Moreno in his 2nd spell as a New York Red Bull player. He's coming forward here. So you see the replay, just inches wide with that one.
It's a solid look. It's a positive move, I think, for Armando to get into the game early on. He's a player that I played with when he first came into
I was going to say, you gave him the casual first name status quick.
Yeah, he's a player that I played with when he was very, very young, and it's good to see him back and continuing his development here. But, you know, he's the kind of guy that needs to start that game right, complete his first pass, do a positive movement, and you can start to see a different type of player out of him. So it's good to see him drive forward. Obviously, he doesn't strike the ball well, but it's a positive movement.
Armando Moreno, part of the New York Red Bulls Academy, joined in 2009 as a high school kid, ended up signing his first pro deal at the end of 2012, debuted in 2013 as a substitute for Roy Miller against who?
Oh,
you
man.
don't know.
I don't. Portland Timbers.
No, San Jose Earthquakes.
That was my next guess.
At least you picked an MLS team. That was a good idea.
Yeah.
He then went down to Tijuana, played in Tijuana for 4 years before returning this year in 2018 to play for the New York Red Bulls, and here on the New York Red Bulls 2 now.
And look, this is that's part of what this sell is with the homegrown players and having teams that have a USL squad as well, is that you have an opportunity to sell them on this system that they get to stay in, that's close to home. They get to develop slowly, not feel the pressure, which he ultimately felt going to another club like Tijuana and having to prove himself and sort of getting lost in the shuffle.
Nathan Cutler with the interception there at right back. Part of the Colgate union that's been growing here. Jesse Marsh, very familiar with their head coach, and he's now drafted Colgate players in back-to-back years. Cutler being joined this year with Jose Aguinaga, who had the lone goal in their last game, a 1-1 draw on the road against Richmond, as Rivas' pass is intercepted. New York 2-0 so far here at home. A 2-1 come-from-behind win against TFC2 in the opening week. Followed that one up with a 5-2 thrashing of the Charleston Battery. Got on the road and lost at Atlanta United 2 and drawn at the Richmond Kickers to start this year. Charging forward now are the Rowdies. Chance for them to try and get a crossway. They do, and Restove. A dangerous area there. Heath puts it right over the top.
That's a good ball to that near post and a commitment for Restove to get into a dangerous position, but also decent marking to pull him well beyond that first post and make that angle hard for him.
You mentioned the experience on this team. Georgie Restove, a part of that. He's played in the Champions League. He's one of the all-time leading scorers in Rowdies history. You add Joe Cole, you add Marcel Schaefer, Jack Blake, who came through the Nottingham Academy. For these young Red Bulls players, how do you handle that experience?
I mean, you look at it as a great opportunity to test yourself. Yeah, they might not have the legs that you have as a young player, but they have the brain, they have the experience, and I would want to see just how much I could get out of them. I would want to wind them up. I would want to see, and also pay attention to their movements, see what they're doing. If I'm a player on the bench right now even, I'm looking to see what these guys' movements are. What's made them so good to win championships in the Premier League, to play in Champions League, things like that.
Junior Flemings with the cross, the former Red Bull 2 player. Has it knocked away, and now New York looking to break. Casares with the ball over the top for Moreno, who uses his arm to try and bring that one down. David Goss and Heath Pierce alongside you for this one. New York Red Bulls 2 against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Two teams in the top half of the Eastern Conference early on here in USL play. It's David Najem's now charging forward. Gets it down the line to Flemings, and the free kick will go in his favor. Two former Red Bulls 2 players who moved on after the 2017 season, Najem and Flemings. Both of them have a USL championship, New York Red Bulls 2, and now facing off against their former team for the first time.
Yeah, that's always a nice homecoming, right, to go in. But ultimately, deep in your head, you're saying, I'm gonna show them what they let go. Whether they let go, no one knows what the business behind it was. But you know, they're obviously looking to have strong games today against their former club.
Schaefer standing over this one to take. Marcel Schaefer. We mentioned all that experience. 33 years old, out of Germany. Had 7 goals last season in 32 starts for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. 8 caps for the German national team as well, including in 2010 World Cup qualifying. It'll be his left foot over this one. Curled in to the back of the 6, headed away by New York. Now trying to clear their lines. De Vera up the field. Pressure put on by Tenari. And Gorski floats that one up the field. Ball flicked on. De Vera gets it up to Moreno. New York will look to counter once again. Cutler pushing forward to the feet of Rivas. Rivas with an early ball towards Bonomo, and it's not there. Carlos Rivas already 4 starts in Major League Soccer. His first chance to play in USL this year. How does a player like that, because he's still a young player, 23 years old, what's the conversation between Jesse Marsh and John Wolnick with him of how to handle this experience?
He's a guy that has high expectations, and in his Major League Soccer career hasn't lived up to those expectations yet, right? So you know that he's got probably some sort of little battle mentally to take that to the next level and be consistent. So it's about him recognizing that when he's not getting opportunities to play Major League Soccer, he's getting his opportunities here, and then he has to prove it the entire game. Keep a good attitude, show that he's capable of playing, whether that's 45, 60, or 75 minutes at a level that's higher than your average player, and really, really show that he deserves to be on the pitch 90 minutes every single week. I mean, that is the key, is showing that you have the consistency and, more than anything, the fight to prove yourself.
Because he definitely has the tools.
He's incredibly talented, but you know, he has yet to show that on a consistent level. And I think these are great opportunities for him to show just how different he is of a player than other players within the roster.
That one gets away from him a little bit. You mentioned off the top, nice to see Armando Moreno being aggressive. Draws that free kick, but every touch, it seems like, from him has been forward in these opening 10 minutes trying to push the game.
He is a guy that has to find that right balance as well. He's actually quite decent at hold-up play for the size that he is, but he does like to attack every time, and knowing when to pull it back is also important.
That cross cleared away by Escobar. Schaefer looking to keep it in offensively for the Rowdies. And Bonomo finally gets a tip to it, but still green and yellow ball. Floated out wide for Flemings. Just it down for Najem. DeVero closes on him. Najem now with an opening down the wing for Flemings. His cross is blocked and out for a corner. For this Rowdies team, they came to New York last year for the first time, losing 4-2 to New York Red Bulls 2 at Montclair State University, which will be the home for New York Red Bulls 2 for the rest of the season, but still some renovations being done there. Junior Fleming scored one of those goals against Tampa. They liked what they saw, and so they went and grabbed him for themselves. Schaefer to take once again. Headed away by Endom. The Rowdies will let it run out. Potential long throw coming here for this Rowdy squad. Not a lot of space to operate over there. Blocked out once again by New York. For this Rowdies team, Heath, they get to start the exact same lineup week to week. It's a team that's pretty consistent from last year as well. If you're a team that has a strong year, how do you try and keep things moving forward? How do you continue to get better when you've been pretty good?
That's always the challenge for a manager, is you have a great year, you know a few things didn't go your way, you go into the playoffs, you lose to Red Bull 2, and you think, yeah, we were a better team, and we were clearly better on paper. So it's about fine-tuning that and saying, do I have the right guys? Can I keep this team motivated? Do I need to make a few changes? Can I add some youth? Do I need more experience to get through games like that? And there's no perfect answer to that. Just each team and each roster is going to be a little bit different each time.
This one played back quickly. Tampa trying to counter quickly. It was Joe Cole's long ball. Blake wasn't able to get on the end of. Tenari now breaking forward. So Rivas can't get there. David Najem going down off the ball. Now Alan Kelly will stop play. Najem, a Red Bull Academy player, along with his brother Adam, went to Columbia University, tried his hand playing some European soccer afterwards over in Germany, before finally ending up with New York Red Bulls 2 in the middle of the 2016 season. Was a part of that run to USL Cup. He then proceeded to start 31 games for New York Red Bulls 2 last year before being let go. As you see Coach Wolenek. Coach Wolenek's been a part of this system from the beginning. Heath, when you look at these young players, you look at a guy like David Najem, a year and a half he gets to prove himself before he gets let go and gets a chance somewhere else. How long does it take to see a player? How do you learn whether a guy can be an influence to your club?
Gosh, I got to tell you, these are a lot of managerial questions you're asking me already. If I had the answers to all these, I'd be down there standing next to Wolenek. But honestly,
standing next to or standing instead of?
Standing instead of. I mean, you know, he might go back and watch this and be like, oh yeah, you think it's that easy? You just come down here.
Well, he's only been to what, three playoffs in 3 years and the USL Cup.
He's fantastic, and he's proven an ability to work with the players that have a wide range of needs. Like you said, he has an ability to identify players that can move up within the system, players that can move into other positions, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and ultimately test their character on a regular basis to say, this guy has a long-term future here, and can climb the ladder, or this player might be surplus to requirement. And that's about having a system and a culture through the entire club, right? From top to bottom. They have a philosophy that they try to stand by and make sure that all coaches, whether they're in the youth academies, all the way up, all are kind of built around identifying the same type of things and understanding the game. Obviously, all having a different set of skills, but having the same philosophy and belief as to how you recognize player, how you develop players, and then how you kind of scout them and decide whether or not they're good enough to play in your club long term.
4 of the starters about 2 hours ago for the MLS game for Red Bulls versus Montreal were former New York Red Bull 2 players, and 3 of the subs, all 3 of which came on. So you talk about identifying the right players, but also guiding them along that pathway. I think right now the Red Bulls have proven that they're the best in Major League Soccer and USL at doing that, and has been very, very beneficial to that MLS squad.
Well, the argument's always going to be, do you sacrifice results to develop players? Is that the system? And no one's ever going to be satisfied with that system. You can have a piece of that, but you're seeing today, like earlier today, you have these subs, but they're still getting the win. They're still playing at the highest level. They're not showing this gap in development or that they need the minutes to prove that they're worthy of being there. They're proving themselves here, and they're getting more opportunities. And I think that is a testament to the system that they're building here.
New York Red Bulls, of course, falling in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions League this week to Chivas Guadalajara. And that team, throughout their CCL run, heavily influenced by the players that have come through this New York Red Bulls 2 team. This doubleheader, many fans choosing to stick around and watch the next generation of players. We'll see if David Najem can continue. He's still down there with the trainer. If not, they do have some options on the bench. They've got Ivan Magalnice out of Sao Paulo, 24-year-old who went to college here in the U.S., a defender that they can bring in. But as we said, one of the strengths for this team was that they were able to roll through the exact same lineup. The majority of players on the field have started all 4 games this season. Joe Cole, slowly coming back from injury, has been adding minutes more and more as it's gone along. And now you might be forced into a move about 15 minutes in.
And you see that foul on the pitch right now from Neil Collins. Seeing a guy like Mondo Moreno, active, mobile, young, and a guy like Neil Collins, who's not as active, mobile, or young, say, you know what, I'm not going to chase this guy around all day. I'm going to put my foot through him. And that's as bad as it is. He's not hurt, but it's a learning experience that he's got to get the ball off his foot faster. He's got to play quick, and that a guy like Collins, who's played in the UK for a long time at a high level, isn't just going to give him anything free.
Free kick coming as Najem does return to the field. Rivas rips that shot through the wall, and it'll go out for a corner kick. Rivas trying to get some early touches here in this game, trying to get involved. Played just south of 20 minutes here in this opening half. New York Red Bulls 2 with their first corner kick. Tanari goes low. Rivas flicks it on. It's defended well. Now Rivas a second chance at it. Alive on the top of the box. And Fidel Escobar curls it in. The Panamanian center back. Calm, cool, and collected in his finish. As Fidel Escobar puts New York up 1-0 here in the 18th minute.
Definitely didn't strike that like a center back. He rolled up to that with confidence. You could tell from, at least from this angle, that he was going to strike that well. Obviously, I didn't think he would put it on frame with that much pace, but he redirected that well, and incredible.
Wraps his right foot around that one as Rivas was able to keep the play alive, find his teammate, and Fidel Escobar gets his first goal of the season. It was one of those moments you were like, last person you wanted to fall to, but as you said, didn't hit it like a center back.
Yeah, steps over it, stays, keeps his body over it, keeps it down low, and redirects it where goalkeeper has no chance. And also a great ball to the top of the box there. Well, I can't necessarily say that he was looking for that pass. That's where the right pass is when you get down to the end line. If you're not clipping it to the back post, you got to put it on that penalty spot, and he put it right there and forced Escobar Escobar to get into a position. Well, that's 1-0.
He scores. 18 minutes in, New York Red Bulls to take the 1-0 lead. Escobar getting his first goal. Rebound his first assist here. He has had 2 goals. By Bonomo. How now does this round team for controlling
on your experience with what have these guys here? You know, they're going to be the ones that hide away. They're not where they're necessarily going to hide confidence. They're going to be demanding for the ball in tough spaces. Keep exposed. Continuing to compete. You see they're able to get into the challenge. The challenge that he's in. And the example, Captain's leading nothing. 1-0. There's plenty of time left on the clock.
Red Bulls too. Defending through a few tough situations early on is another difficult ball for Mizell, and he clears his lines. And now they've got the lead to play with.
And the other thing with that, as I was saying before, they've had the consistent lineup, right? So they've been in these positions before. It's a very similar team to last year. And I think that's where you start to get those differences where something goes wrong, but you're still able to rely on, hey guys, we've been in this before. We're not shook. We're not flustered. We're going to keep our composure, keep building out, stick to our system, stick to our plan, and see if something will go our way.
This is only the second time this season Tampa Bay Rowdies have trailed. They lost 1-0 at last year's USL champion Louisville. Arguably the toughest game in the league. Otherwise, they've been good. A 3-1 opening day win against North Carolina, a 2-0 victory over Bethlehem, and then the 5-0 pasting against Ottawa in the last game with the Red Bulls. And then back against the wall here early on. Cutler now looking for a cross, headed away by Collins. Immediately New York back on the attack. Bonomo looking for some space. His shot's blocked. And now the Rowdies will try to counter. Fernandez and Endom in the foot race, and Endom wins it. Son Endom, young center back out of Cameroon. A lot of physical skills that New York Red Bulls staff is excited about. Blake all the way back to his goalkeeper, Mizell. So you look at these two teams, and you look especially in that central midfield area, and for New York Red Bulls, Andrew Chinari wearing the captain's armband today out of the University of Columbia, or Columbia University, excuse me, to the Ivy Leaguers. This is his 25th professional soccer game, all in USL. He's wearing the captain's armband, and on the flip side, Joe Cole, wearing the captain's armband in the other midfield, has 56 caps for England. So you were mentioning an experience gap. I wanted to lay that out there for everyone.
But you can't tell me that. Tinari's not going to look at this and be like, what makes you different? I'm captain of my squad, you're captain of my squad. Yeah, you've done some things in the past, but I'm going to match up with you, and I'm going to compete with you, and I think that's a really cool thing and a great experience for him. For a guy of his age, 22 years old, is already having a pretty strong season, putting up some goals and assists for the team, gets the captain's armband. I mean, it is one of those things where could you have, at times, more experienced players on the field? Yeah, but you want that consistent guy who's got it in all of his games at this level that can lead the squad. And I think it's a huge honor for him. You know, I think you learn a lot when you're a captain. I only captained the Red Bulls maybe once or twice.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What were the games?
DC United in a comeback win. That was pretty cool. The stadium,
you inspired the troops?
The stadium was almost full. And it was a really, really wild atmosphere. But haven't you seen my highlight tape before of me on the guy on the sideline? I was captain that game. It's the only thing I have to go for anymore. It's the last of the game tape that exists.
There is a picture of you that I have seen in the hallway of the New York Red Bull locker room as you get the official confirmation on that substitution. So David Najem trying all he could to continue on in his return to New York Red Bulls, but he will be forced off with that injury. And Ivan Magalhães comes on out of São Paulo, 24-year-old University of Maryland. Played last year with Rio Grande after being drafted by the Houston Dynamo. So it looks like Magalnice will go in at center back, and Hunter Gorski will rotate to right back as there's now a shoving match going on. Escobar and Christian Casares Jr. in the middle of that one. And we'll see what decision there is to be made. Junior Fleming's coming over playing peacekeeper, as of course the Jamaican international, knowing many of these faces. It looks like the two captains are going to be spoken to. So yellow card coming for Joe Cole. First yellow card of the game here in the 25th. I mentioned Joe Cole looking to get into it in this game as Escobar now receives his punishment.
You're definitely going to get that type of competition from him, that type of fight. And it's good to see. You want to see him competing. Obviously, it turned into a little bit of a scrap early on, and mostly pushing. Fortunately, nobody avoided losing their cool, or nobody lost their cool, rather. And therefore, yellow cards were probably appropriate in this situation. And thankfully, we still got 11 aside.
Nice and warm out here. 80 degrees. The sun starting to go away a little bit across this stadium as Moreno drops it back. Cutler's first touch is long, and his cross blocked out for a corner kick. New York, one corner kick so far in this game. They didn't score directly off of it. They're able to keep the ball in and create a goal, and now a short corner to Cutler, which is blocked and will go out for another chance here for New York. Big options in the Bach in Endam, as well as Bonomo and Escobar. This one's hit high. It falls down for Bonomo, and it hits his hand. An easy call to make there for Alan Kelly.
I've liked these last 10, 12 minutes from the Red Bull 2s. You know, you were spot on when you said that Rowdies had control of the game early on, and after that goal, I think the Red Bull 2s have settled in a little bit.
Joe Cole is not in a good mood. He just got stuck in there with Aguinaga, and you could see the way he swaggered away after he received that call, as you see the replay of Bonomo's handball in the box. He's got to watch out. It's only the 26th minute. He's already got a yellow card.
Looked like he left his foot up there in that tackle for one extra half second, which, you know, on a yellow card, you're already under a microscope.
Casares losing possession. Flemings trying to push the other way. As Junior Flemings gets dragged down from behind. 22-year-old Jamaican international. And another yellow card, this time shown to Casares. So our head official here trying to get control of this one and keep things calm. We mentioned the playoff game last year, extra time, incredible game, end-to-end stuff. But Stefano Bonomo scoring the 2 goals to get the win. We wondered how much would carry over. Clearly, these two teams do not like each other.
And you can tell they're both well aware that these are 2 of the top teams, at least in the East, and that they're going to be facing each other, and that they might be facing each other again in the playoffs. So might as well set the tone now.
Schaefer to take. Curled in, and no one on the end of that one as it bounces wide. Tampa Bay Rowdies, of course, famous name in soccer here in the United States. They won the 1975 Soccer Bowl. They played from 1975 to 1993. Resurfacing just a few years ago to play at Al Lang Stadium. This their second season in USL. And just look at the roster they've put together front to back. some really talented young domestic players, some young international players, and we've talked about the veteran international players. It's a really interesting mix of a few different pieces.
Totally. It's a very international style of building a roster. It's what you see all around the globe, and you can tell that it's built seriously. It's built to win championships. It's built to compete for championships because it's got that balance of the understanding of how the domestic league works to having that international experience.
Moreno on side here, fighting to keep possession. Tenari, the captain, looking to keep the attack in as Endom floats by one defender. Chance to cross here for Tenari. No one on the end of that one, and it's tapped out by a Tampa Bay Rowdies defender. Corner kick coming for New York. Rivas is over to take it with Tenari. We mentioned Stuart Campbell, head coach for this Tampa Bay Rowdies team. So Rivas' corner is headed away. He can't keep that one in, but Campbell coming over from England. Played for Leicester City as a young player, as well as Bristol Rovers. He came to play for Tampa Bay Rowdies in 2012, eventually moving over to become a player assistant coach and taking over for Thomas Rongen in 2015 in the middle of the season.
Do you think that was an initial thought for him, is like, come over, maybe move into the coaching, work my way up to becoming a head coach? It seems like a very fast path to being a head coach at a high level, but it's clearly worked out for him.
Well, Anthony Hudson, head coach of the Colorado Rapids, came here to play in USL for Wilmington because he felt like as a player coach here, he'd have a quicker path to being a head coach, and it's worked for him as well as for Stuart Campbell. You got to ask that question, though, because I asked you before the game, when you look at some of these guys, if you're a guy like a Neil Collins, where you're saying, you know, you're an experienced player, you live at home, now at 34 years old, are you going to move across the world to play?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't, there's no denying that the weather and other things like that are great in Florida, and Tampa especially. And people tend to like it. A lot of people retire there, a lot of people spend their time there, but there seems to be a theme of being able to come over and say, hey, let's finish out my career somewhere different. You know, he probably spent most of his career in stressful scenarios. You know, I believe he won the championship twice or something like that. Got promoted.
Yep.
Those aren't. They're fun when you win them, but they're not always the most pleasurable experiences. You know. So now to be in this position, hopefully figuring out what's next. Maybe he's the next in line to become, you know, an assistant manager or a player manager, or sees his opportunities of being able to climb the ladder a lot faster than maybe a saturated market, say, back in the UK.
As a player, do clubs, do coaches, do front offices like talk to you as you're playing and starting to finish up of, hey, what's next? Or would you like to come coach? Do you go and help coach with the academies at all? New York gets a chance to break into the box here. So we now wait on bated breath for Heath Pierce's response.
No, I mean, you see it with most guys. You see it with most guys. And the success you see from the top managers in the world that were former players, most people knew or could at least predict he's built to be a coach, he's built to be a manager. He understands the game a little bit differently, or sees it.
Chance here for New York as Tenari tries to get into the box. Cleared away by the Rowdies, as now defending on all fronts here.
You know, they have an ability to see the game differently. They communicate differently. They're less emotional, or maybe they're more emotional at the right times,
right,
and less emotional at the right times. But usually you can see it, and that's probably a little bit of both the club saying we see a future for you here, as well as the player expressing that interest, and maybe while they're still playing, getting some of their coaching badges or some of their qualifications to be a coach at the highest level.
Cutler now moving forward. He slips the pass in for Casares, looking for Bonomo, and now cleared away by Gorski. It was a slip there by Neil Collins in the middle, and Casares, I don't think, realized then how much time he had. And his pass for Bonomo was just deflected enough for Tampa to get out of that one alive. Select is the official soccer ball of the USL. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit selectsportamerica.com. Receive free shipping on orders over $50. David Gostin, Heath Pierce here for New York Red Bulls 2 and the Tampa Bay Rowdies as Joe Cole gets driven down. The former Chelsea player has had an eventful first half, to say the least. Already a yellow card and a few other interactions with his opponent. Marcel Schaefer's had a few chances here, Heath, on set pieces. He hasn't been able to find a teammate, though, on all these opportunities.
He's hit a few long, but he's got a great left foot, and he's capable of really causing some havoc if he can put it in the right positions.
Schaefer looks like we'll try and loop this one over the top of the 18 once again. Curls it towards that far post. Loro's out to take it safely.
It's a long one again. You expect a little bit more from a player like him, who was actually a career free kick taker in the national team, took some of their free kicks, corner kicks, just a strong left foot. A guy that you would expect to be pretty consistent at that, and so far this match he hasn't really put anything into a dangerous position, but
Schaefer, 256 Bundesliga appearances for Wolfsburg, 91 appearances for 1860 Munich before that. Highly experienced, as we said, and as Heath mentioned, very dangerous set piece taker. You played against him?
I played against him. We were both left backs at the time.
Ball snuck in here by De Vera. Moreno looking for Bonomo. His shot saved by Mizell. Great movement up top between the two strikers. Cody Mizell stands up to that one. Restove looking to make something happen back the other way. That ball just too far for Junior Flemings.
And that's just a great touch from Mondo. And then the best part about it is he looks up, he sees that the space is not for him, it's for Bonomo, lays that ball off right into his path. You expect Bonomo to do better with that ball. But again, it's what I've mentioned to you before, Goss, is that he could have easily have tried to have a shot there, go for it from the top of the box. Would it have been a good decision? Yeah. Was it the right decision in that situation? Probably not. He found the right decision, put it into the hands of Bonomo to try to put it on frame or put it in the net. He puts it on frame, but doesn't connect the way that he wants, and Cody Mizell's able to make a big save.
You mentioned the hold-up ability, even for his size. You could see there, keeps the defender on his back. Good clean feet to get it out and into the path there of Bonomo. A dangerous play here for this New York Red Bull 2 team, leading 1-0.
You can see why a player like him would frustrate a guy like Neil Collins, who's...
Now the Rowdies charging forward. Endom makes the tackle in open space. Blake can't find the feet of Cole. And now New York are going the other way. Rivas with some cookies. Stealing away from Gorski, but then hits the ball to no one.
Final product wasn't there, but...
The flare was.
The flare was.
He got me excited.
Yeah. That Meg was nice.
ESPN Plus is the new streaming home of the USL in the United States. Watch all the action throughout the 2018 regular season and USL Cup. Playoffs starting later on this year. You can visit uslsoccer.com. We are so happy to be on ESPN Plus. New York with another steal. Trying to get out in the open field, and Jack Blake doing a lot of work right now in that central midfield position, knocks that one away.
Well, that's why he's there. He's the young one in that squad. Yeah. You got Joe Cole and Marcel Schaefer. Yes, Marcel Schaefer is only 33 years old, and he's been at the club for a while, but you already mentioned 250-plus games, plus another almost 100 at 1860 in the second Bundesliga. It's a lot of miles on the leg, so.
Tenari into the feet of Bonomo. Bonomo's back heel. No one reads it, and Gorski clears. Cutler trying to find his teammate, and Casares eventually wins the ball back. One of the focuses you had for this game off the top was that midfield battle. Kristen Casares, Andrew Tenari, as well as Aganagi have been very good for this New York Red Bull 2 team. Once again linking up here, Tenari and Casares Jr., and his shot goes just wide.
Yeah, they've been very good. They've actually been able to push this Rowdies defense, or at least defensive block, further and further back, and now they're sitting back, you know, behind the half circle, and that's opening up a lot of space for that midfield to start combining, creating those triangles and opening up that space just like that, getting into those gaps. Again, not a great take in terms of a shot, but great ball movement, opening up spaces, pulling guys in and out of rooms, getting that ball facing up the field and driving out of back line is a good place to be in.
New York Red Bulls 2 out shooting the Tampa Bay Rowdies 5-1 so far in this one. Turnover here. Fleming's going back the other way. He's got a runner out of midfield in Schaefer. Marcel Schaefer cuts it back for Ristov, and his shot's cleared off the line by Tavera. Best attack of the game there for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Heath, you mentioned for New York starting to push that defensive block farther back on the field for the Rowdies, and then they force a turnover, and the Rowdies were breaking back the other way. Fleming's now. His cross blocked by Escobar.
Yeah, like you said, that's part of it. You start to get more comfortable when they let you work the ball up the field easy and they're sitting back deeper, but it leaves you more and more vulnerable, right? And that's what we're seeing now is for the last 30, 45 seconds in those 2-3 attack sequences, they were equal numbers, and that's not a position you want to be in. 5 minutes left in the half. And you're up 1-0. You know, you want to make sure that you have that balance, that maturity, and that's when you're going to look on your captain, who has not as much experience as the other team's captain, Tenari, and say, hey, you got to pull this thing together. Make sure our numbers are balanced now. Let's see this half out. Make sure that we have a good balance in our numbers behind the ball, and that we're not attacking with 4 guys and defending with 5 and having floaters. Just get behind the ball, see out this half, and work it out at halftime.
Final 5 minutes of the first half here. New York Red Bulls 2 leading through the 18th minute goal by Fidel Escobar. His first of the season for the young Panamanian center back. The best chance of the game there for the Rowdies. And for all the players it could fall to, it worked out perfectly. You've got Schaefer setting up Ristov, who's your all-time leading scorer in the modern era and 1 goal away from all-time leaders in Tampa Bay Rowdies history. Didn't get a ton of power on the finish, but was trying to redirect it.
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton of Ristov besides that near post chance early on in the match, and Marcel Schaefer does a good job to drive that ball down towards the end of the pitch and cutting it back to the guy that you want taking that shot from the top of the box. Doesn't strike it well, but they're going to need more of that if they want to find their way back into this game.
If you're Stuart Campbell, what's the main point? What's your tone in that halftime locker room with this Rowdy squad?
Look, you need to get your experienced players on the ball more often. You need to get Kristov into positions in front of goal. It can't just be once in the first 5 minutes and once in the last 5 minutes of the game. You got to get Joe Cole. You got to get Marcel Schaefer higher up on the pitch and in dangerous spots.
Moreno in an offside position there.
Because I don't think they've been playing particularly bad. There just hasn't been a lot of action from them, and it seems like as the half went on, aside from a few sequences, they've sort of just settled back in, fallen deeper and deeper into the field. And when you have the experience, they don't have as much speed as the Red Bull 2s have. They don't have that. They have maybe more experience, more brains. They have to be able to work to that advantage. And if you're starting all of your attacks from the top of your box, it's going to take a long time to get into your attacking box and try to score goals.
It's felt like for this Rowdies team as Portillos comes forward now. Now Fernandez, whose name we probably have not said enough for this team, but it's felt like, you mentioned they don't have the speed. You're not going to beat guys one-on-one. They haven't moved the ball that quickly when they have. They've created chances, but otherwise it's kind of been very casual from this Rowdies team. They haven't created as many chances as they'd like. Big corner kick coming up here. So again, it'll be Schaefer to take.
Looking in their 5-0 win against Ottawa, Campbell had said that their main thing was patience. They had preached patience, that they weren't going to break down that easy, and perhaps that's the same game plan for them, is preaching that patience. Of course, they're 1-0 down, but
Schaefer puts this one in low, cleared away by Tenari. But it's a great point, Heath, in that they scored 5 goals in the final 30 minutes in their last game. You're not going to panic when you go down 1-0 if you're slowly trying to change the game and break a team down. Restove with the cross. Flemings heads that one on goal, and Loro comes out to get it. On the flip side for Coach Wolnick, what's your main talking points going into halftime? What's your focus?
If the main priority of today's match is to get your 3 points, then it's saying we need to know when we're vulnerable and make sure that we're well balanced, that we're well organized, calling on your 2 center backs, calling on your captain to know, hey, we're over-attacking. We've got guys, they're waiting for us. They're baiting us a little bit to make a bad turnover. Let's make sure that we're balanced. So let's make sure that if you do have an opportunity to make a foul that's going to kill a counterattack, do that. If you have an opportunity to get numbers back, get numbers behind the ball and stay balanced.
Fleming's charging forward. A few Red Bull defenders in chase. Endom makes the clean tackle as he steps forward and now looks to launch the attack. Up the field for Rivas as we enter stoppage time here. 3 minutes minimum to end this first half. That cross is cleared away. David Najem's injury adding a few minutes to stoppage time as the former Red Bull player was forced off the field twice and finally could not continue.
Which is disappointing because I wanted to see Najem and Junior Flemings
Yeah.
of Red Bull 2 old playing against Red Bull 2 new. See how they match up.
Ristov up the field for Flemings. This ball down the line and offside for Fernandez. Be interesting to see if Campbell chooses to shift things around at all to try and maybe get Fernandez and Flemings on the ball a little bit more, as they've been isolated at times out wide, haven't gotten a lot of service. We will have plenty for you in this halftime break, so don't go anywhere. We've got a sit-down interview with USL President Jake Edwards. We've also got all the news and notes from this week. Already 2 games played on Wednesday night. We'll look at the highlights for that, as well as some of the best goals of the week and some of the best players of the month. We'll run a little review over this first half. This cross comes in. Neil Collins directs that on his own goal, and Mizell picks it up easily.
Felt like I was watching a tape of an 80s soccer game there,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know if they changed the rules in that exact moment, but it was a calm touch, and clearly the goalkeeper thought it was appropriate to pick it up, and the ref did too, so play on, but can't say that I always have that type of nerves when I'm facing my own goal.
Neil Collins felt like he was in old Wembley again.
Yeah.
Ready for that FA Cup semifinal of 27 back passes. Ball clipped over the top. Rivas running onto it. He's able to keep it in. This cross only finds Collins' feet. And now a ball down the line for Fernandez in the final seconds of this first half. You gotta like the half Hassan Endom has had for this New York Red Bull 2 backline, which we said, Heath, that there were question marks around.
Absolutely. He's done his job to a T. Of course, he's a big body. He's always going to be physical. You're always going to see him in a game, for better or for worse. You're always going to know where he is because he is such a physical presence. But he's won his battles. He's won the ball in the air. He's read the game really well. And he's stepped up when he's had to, especially here at the end of the half, knowing that he needs to make plays. And that's exactly what you want. He's so young that he doesn't necessarily have the experience. You know, you have a Marcel Schaefer makes a great ball behind the back line to Leo Fernandez there. And that could cause some danger. But a guy like Ndam, that you're just like, he's calm, he's relaxed. And I like that. And you know me enough to know that I like a calm player on the ball.
Nothing makes Heath Beers happier. And we saw a calm defender, Fidel Escobar, as he dispatched the lone goal of this first half in the 18th minute to give New York Red Bulls 2 an early lead here against the Tampa Bay Rowdies, one of the top teams in the USL, currently leading in the Eastern Conference. New York Red Bull 2 team trying to get it done here at home at Red Bull Arena. and continue their perfect home record. We'll be back in just a moment with all your halftime information and interviews and second half action here on ESPN+.
With MSG Go, the game goes where you go. So you can watch live Red Bulls games anywhere you want. It's free and easy because if you get MSG, you get MSG Go. Watch your favorite team wherever you are with MSG Go, presented by Lexus. Download it for free where you get your apps.
One of the nation's leading heart programs. A shared sense of compassion, innovation, and expertise. Perfectly orchestrated so your world never misses a beat. Hackensack Meridian Health. Life years ahead.
Welcome back to Red Bull Arena. New York Red Bulls soon leading the Tampa Bay Rowdies 1-0 after the first half. David Goss and Heath Pierce alongside you for this one. And coming into this one, Heath, we expected goals, and we highlighted Evan Laurel for the New York Red Bulls too as one of the star players to watch in this one in goal. And he hasn't had much to do.
He hasn't had anything to do, but that's because of how well the team is playing in front of them. We didn't know what the back line was going to be. Fidel Escobar, he scored the goal, but he's also been solid defensively. Dom has been incredible, reading the ball, cutting out angles, putting out any fires, and that's what I think is the highlight moment for me that's making Evan Laurel's job so easy.
And on the flip side, we talked about Leo Fernandez for this Tampa Bay Rowdy squad. An offensive spark for them, but it's been really quiet for not just him, the whole Rowdies offense.
Look, they've been slow. We saw towards the end there that Marcel Schaefer put Leo Fernandez in a good spot, his first good spot in the match, but they're playing so predictably that the Red Bull 2s are able to cut out anything that they have. So I think they need to bring in something a little bit different, a little bit of speed to draw players in and out of gaps so that Leo Fernandez can get on the ball, get a little more space and time, and have some options in front of him as well.
New York Red Bulls 2 here at Red Bull Arena for the first 6 games of the home USL slate before they head back to Montclair State University. The next game, they'll be at the LA Galaxy 2. The next home game here against Nashville SC for the first time ever against that new franchise. It should be a fun one. It's been a really great start to the franchise's career for Nashville SC. Now we're going to go to an interview with the head of USL, Jake Edwards, president of USL, and we'll be back with your first half stats and highlights in just a few moments.
Hi, we're being joined today by Jake Edwards, president of the USL. Just getting ready to kick off an exciting 2018 season. Jake, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So, Jake, the expansion this year has brought a large group of new owners to the USL to complement this already very strong base of ownership that we've seen that's really led to the success of the league. Talk about the USL ownership group and what these new folks are bringing.
Many of our owners, I'd say the vast majority of our owners now, have owned and operated sports organizations in multiple different leagues and bring with them a real understanding of the the economics of sport, what's required in terms of an investment level in the facilities, in the community, in all the different programs that our teams run. So for me, it's a privilege to get to work with all of these very experienced businessmen and women on a daily basis, and I'm just constantly thrilled by the commitment and investment they have into their local communities and ultimately into our sport. The new owners that are joining our league now are coming in every year with bigger ambitions. For us, we continue to drive value from a business point of view. The model continues to attract more and more sophisticated owners into the league, and that's something that we believe will have such a positive impact on the future of this league and the new initiatives that we want to embark upon.
Last year we surpassed 2 million in attendance. Talk about what your expectations are for this season, and in terms of attendance at live games and just overall awareness of the league.
Yeah, our fans are the lifeblood of this league, as they are for every league. We've seen the support for our clubs grow exponentially. We're already significantly ahead of where we were this time last year on average per club for season tickets. I think it speaks to the excitement. It speaks to what's happening in the local communities. It speaks to all of the things we're trying to do, building new stadiums, creating more exciting, authentic environments, attracting better players, having a more competitive and compelling league. I think it's, at least for the league office here, a substantial investment in content production and infrastructure around the broadcast, around the digital and social. And so we take great pride in growing that area of the business and engaging with the fans from a team point of view and a league point of view.
Around USL action over the month, Carlton Belmar, USL Player of the Month at Swope Park Rangers. After back-to-back USL Cup appearances, are off to another hot start here in 2018. Belmar continuing the progress we've seen since he joined the Timbers too. Alan Wynn, former U.S. Youth International here, he with Nashville making his pro debut, scored the goal of the week.
That's a great touch there. Cut inside, sees that back net, puts it back post, puts it right where he wants it to. But what I'm most excited about is Nashville SC. There is so much hype around that. The fan base is growing. It's incredible. I can't wait to see this thing continue.
And some hot chicken if you ever end up down there for a nice big game. And as we mentioned, Nashville SC will be here in the New York, New Jersey area on May 6th. And we've already had 2 games played this week. Real Monarchs, last year's regular season champions, facing off against Seattle Sounders 2. Real Monarchs a 3-1 win, but Blake Malone, the Sounders Youth Academy player, makes his debut. And then this is an image that's been seen more than once in the world. Didier Drogba roots a goalkeeper to his spot and curls one in.
He's so good. His release is so fast that it makes it so difficult for goalkeepers to set their feet, know where it's going. As soon as he goes up to strike it, you're just kind of left stuck. At least that's what I'm assuming is happening.
Phoenix Rising, one of the leaders in the Western Conference as already. We look at these first half stats. New York Red Bulls, too, were started out on this other half of this possession battle, but slowly got control as they went up 1-0, 4 shots to 2 in this one. 3 yellow cards as ready. It's been a little bit chippy. This Red Bulls 2 team, Heath, has grown and grown as this first half went along.
Yeah, and I think you saw the Rowdies starting to drop further back on the field, making it a lot harder for them to climb their way out without any pace to really draw that, to draw into those lanes on the sideline or pull any defenders out of spaces. So they're going to have to definitely come into the second half with something a little bit different, a little more dynamic if they want to stretch this Red Bull 2 back line and kind of cause any danger.
Tampa Bay Rowdies scored 5 goals in the final 30 minutes of their game last week against Ottawa, so we expect some action over the next 45 minutes. We'll be back with first half highlights in just a minute here on ESPN+.
With MSG Go, the game goes where you go. so you can watch live Red Bulls games anywhere you want. It's free and easy because if you get MSG, you get MSG Go. Watch your favorite team wherever you are with MSG Go, presented by Lexus. Download it for free where you get your apps.
One of the nation's leading heart programs. A shared sense of compassion, innovation, and expertise. Perfectly orchestrated so your world never misses a beat. Hackensack Meridian Health. Life years ahead.
New York Red Bulls 2 subs out on the field as these two teams, first teams, getting ready to come back out. You see Jesse March, Preston Burpo in the crowd watching their young players. And right now, liking what they're seeing here, Heath Pierce, a 1-0 lead. Some question marks for us coming into this one of what formation they would play defensively, who would get the starts. A lot of center backs. Fidel Escobar, one of the guys that gets the start, has gotten it done defensively, and he got the goal, as we'll take a look here at these first half highlights.
It starts out of nothing there, plays it back. Again, like I said before, that's the right spot to put that ball. A lot of traffic in there. Finds Escobar, who calmly finishes it, more like a striker than a center back.
Fidel Escobar, his first goal here in USL play with the Red Bulls for less than a year. And Rivas, we mentioned, has to have some production, make things happen. He was able to create that goal really out of nothing for this Red Bull 2 squad, who controlled the rest of that first half. Loro coming out here, making the catch off Schaefer's service, which we mentioned hasn't really been good enough, and the Rowdies really have only created one dangerous chance outside of their set pieces.
But he's controlling his space here, knows well. You know, one of the hardest things to do when you're not getting action as a goalkeeper is stay involved in the game, to stay focused, to know when your moments are.
Stefano Bonomo here, coming off the run, or the possession of Armando Moreno, forcing Cody Mizell into the best save of the first half.
That's a great touch there from Armando Moreno to put Bonomo in a good position there. Should have done better.
So for Red Bulls 2, leading 1-0. After this, they will go for a little interconference matchup as they'll go and face the LA Galaxy 2 out in California on Sunday, April 22nd. That one, of course, will be on ESPN+. And then this team returns home to face off against Nashville SC. For this Tampa Bay Rowdies team, they will face off against Real Monarchs, last year's regular season champions, the top team in the West. And if Tampa Bay Rowdies can hang on to a win here, it would be 1 versus 1, East versus West next week. But, of course, New York Red Bulls 2 are in no position to make that a reality. We are out and ready for this second half. The Tampa Bay Rowdies have already used one substitution in that first half for David Najem. They shifted their left center back in Hunter Gorski out wide right, and then bringing on a substitute at their left center back spot, and Ivan Magalnice. On the flip side, New York Red Bulls 2 yet to make any changes. They've got some options on the bench. three center backs in Kevin Pollitt, Tommy Redding, and Jordan Scarlett. Some more defensive grit in central midfield in Chris Lima. And then Jared Stroud, who's already got an assist this season, and Brian White. Brian White, the PDL Golden Boot winner last year for New York Red Bulls under-23 team. So some goal scoring as well as some defensive grit on that bench. The opening 10 or so minutes of the first half, the Rowdies controlled. They created some half chances. Red Bulls still got the goal and started to build in that second half. How do you expect these teams to come out here for the second 45?
Well, if I'm the Red Bull 2, I'm saying keep doing what we're doing. As cliche as that sounds, what we've been doing has been working. Again, just keeping that balance. Make sure we have that balance. Make sure we have that. We know when we're taking risks. We know when we need to be sitting back. And, well, the issue with that is when you have a young squad, you don't always know when that is, right? Because you taste a little blood. You want to get forward. You want to attack. You want to have fun. You want to do all the fun things in the game. But sometimes you got to be able to button it up and say, this isn't going to be the most fun at times, but we're going to secure the win. Then on the flip side, if you're the Rowdies, it's about being a lot more dynamic than you were in the first half.
Rivas trying to be dynamic to start this half. Gets it to Bonomo. And he couldn't find the feet of Aguinaga. And now Leo Fernandez going the other way into the path of Junior Flemings. And he uses his arm to control that one.
It's a decent step for the Rowdies there. Find the ball forward, quick counterattack while the team's in a vulnerable position. Little understaffed, you could say, in the back. Try to execute against that. Obviously a handball there to kill the play, but
it was interesting to see Tampa Bay be so direct because they weren't that direct in the first half. Maybe that's an idea to try and bypass this New York Red Bull 2 midfield here in the second half.
Right, and when you're playing with three across your front line, you've got to be able to move players in and out of those spaces. Otherwise, it becomes three check-back strikers, right? And you don't want that from Leo Fernandez. You don't want that from Junior Flemings. You want them stretching that back line. You want them taking risks, pulling players all over the place.
Rivas curls this one in, but it's right on the hands of Mizell after good work there from Jose Aguinaga.
And that's one of the things that I think Moreno does well that's different than just being an out-and-out winger in a front three, is that he comes into pockets underneath, which is extremely difficult for center backs and outside backs. Nobody knows, should I take him? Do I step out? Do I stay? When he steps into those spaces, someone's filling in the other space behind him, and that makes it very difficult to defend against. And that's something that the Rowdies will have to do in this second half, is just be more dynamic, be more unpredictable, start working more together, do some of those types of movements that you need the team to be on the same page to free up space. Because right now, everybody's checking underneath, everybody wants the ball to feet. But so far in the start of the second half, we've seen Junior Flemings trying to get over the top a little bit, and that's where the real danger lies.
Magalhaes shielding that one out for Rowdy's possession. This game looking like it's going to open up here in this second half. There's been plenty of space early on for these two teams to play with. Rivas gets the cross away. Thrown out the hands of Mizell into the feet of Schaefer. Restove with the first touch, and then Cutler comes in. Bonomo, so taken off him by Collins immediately. As Cole now goes back to the safe feet there of Magalhaes. The ball blasted very long there from Mizell. Heath, one of the things you talked about at halftime and here at the start of this second half was for this young Red Bulls 2 team understanding how to close out games, tactical fouls, moments like that. That, in my mind, is one of the biggest reasons the USL is so important for young players to be in moments where you're against players who just want to win championships, who are just fighting to win that game, experienced players, and understanding it's not always going to be beautiful. Because you watch some of these academy teams play, and everything against them, they still try and play out of the back. They still try and play out of the back. And there are moments where you just have to recognize the situation and adjust.
Well, that's one of the big arguments that we're experiencing in the U.S. soccer landscape in general is, do you play to win or do you play to develop, and how do you weave the two together? And there is a fundamental understanding of the game that you have to have, and a fundamental maturity that you have to play at the highest level, and that's knowing when to draw a foul. That's knowing when to kill the game. Those are things you only learn by doing. Now, some players are just gritty by nature, and they're going to foul more than other players. But having that intelligence of knowing where the game is at, where things stand, you only learn by doing. And I think that's how great this is. Like you said, you go to some of the lower levels, and yeah, they play beautiful soccer. They try to play out of the back, but that leads to kind of poor habits, poor discipline. And of course, you can argue this is for the sake of development and the sake of the philosophy of the style that we play. But sometimes players just need to understand we're also here to win. This is the situation, situational awareness, take it into account, and how can you close out a game and get 3 points?
What do you make of the idea of having a top-down style of play like New York Red Bulls do? If you were a young player coming through, would you want a situation where the way you trained at your youth team or in a lower division team was the same as what you were going to step into pro? Does it make it harder?
Positionally, yes. When I first went to Europe, I was 20, playing left back for 2 years at that point in my career because I had been an attacking player because I was
good at soccer. As Laurel comes out and clears it.
The way they have it here is usually you're put in an attacking player. I was pacier than most guys. But the main thing for me is I was playing against a guy who had been a left back since he was 12 years old. He understood the position. He understood where he needed to be. He had the reps at all levels to say, if this diagonal ball comes, what is the likelihood that this guy is going to get behind me? What it's likely it's going to get between us, your gaps between the center backs and the outside backs. And that was a real learning experience for me because I was catching up from a lifetime of education. So when it's positionally like that, I think it makes a lot of sense because then you know, kind of like how you have in the total football system in Holland, where when the outside backs are high and wide and the center backs are split and you have the two holding midfielders roaming around, what's the next pass? How do you solve the problems? You only need a one-man advantage anywhere on the field to solve a problem, right? You need one-man advantage, so how do you play through that? And to know that the left back knows where the center back needs to be, the center back knows where the midfielders know where the strikers need to be, is a huge thing that I think we're still missing. And so to have that top down, you start to build that into players. And whether that's the right system or not, it remains to be seen over time, but you're at least building a philosophy so that...
Bonomo here for Aguinaga, and he rips that shot! A 2-0 lead for New York Red Bulls. Jose Aguinaga made his debut goal last week, and he follows it up with a stunner here. This Red Bulls 2 squad, a 2-0 lead in the 53rd minute.
I promised you goals, Goss.
A Pierce always pays his debts. And that wasn't just a goal. Bonomo holding up the play, and it was beautiful heat from the movement in the back all the way to this final product.
Look, Bonomo's run is what creates that whole goal. Don't get me wrong, that finish was world class. It's incredible. No goalkeeper has a chance of saving that. But Bonomo's little diagonal run to come out of that top space when it would have been a lot easier for him to just sit in there and post up, to make that little diagonal run, opens up that space, and then you get an incredible, incredible finish there. And you really can't write it up better than that. It is an incredible finish.
Jose Aguinaga with a gorgeous goal. He's pulling his Florian Velo impersonation coming out of Rider University, a Spanish native. Came up through Rayo Vallecano and Real Madrid's academy, coming over to the U.S. to play college soccer at Rider, and now with New York Red Bulls too. This Florian Velo came from France to Rider, and now New York Red Bulls player as well. Ristoff back the other way, an open header for Fernandez. He can't direct that one on frame. Wide open there in the 18-yard box.
Yeah, and that play started out there with De Vera tracking back at full speed, and that's a commitment that you want from an outside back. He gets pulled into the center position where he's in sort of no man's land, right? He doesn't know how to play center back. He doesn't know where he's supposed to be, steps into that center back position, ends up leaving striker wide in front of frame, doesn't capitalize on it. But that's, again, the understanding of knowing if I get pulled across the field as a young player, where do I need to be? Who do I need to be marking? Am I floating? Should I be on a man? Should I be on the near post? And that was a moment there where you're starting to see that there was a little bit of lack of understanding.
Cutler now back towards his own goal. Finds the feet there of Casares Jr. And Casares and Tenari have really been impressive to watch, controlling this game from the midfield. A lot of short passes, moving this game from side to side, and then Aguinaga is able to just have the license to attack as Armando Moreno's offside.
And you can see it's starting to open up a little bit, right? The combination play, like you said, between Aguinaga and some of the other players, just creating small triangles, square balls, that comfort on the ball to say, hey, we don't have to attack every time we get it. Him and Tenari have been on the same page, especially in the second half. And that's starting to break down defenses, starting to break down midfields where they don't know, should I step out, should I sit in front of the center backs? And that's where you start to get those gaps, and that field starts to open up for the team.
Blake trying to bring that one down. Rivas knocks it away from Kolb to Tampa Bay Rowdies teammate. Tampa Bay Rowdies, the top of the Eastern Conference, coming to this one a 3-1 on the season, a +8 goal differential for the green and yellow. And on the flip side, this New York Red Bulls 2 team 2-1-1 on the year. But they are undefeated here at home. The first 6 games at Red Bull Arena, June 9th. They will move to Montclair State University, where they played the bulk of last year's games and will be their permanent home from here on out. Schaefer curls this one towards the top of the 18. It's headed down, and then not much danger in that shot there. As Coach Wolonek has a smile on his face. He got the first half right. He went in, he gave a halftime talk. His team comes out in the second half, and they get a goal within 10 minutes.
Right, and now it's up to them to hold that on, right? A lot of times with younger players especially, they tend to lose that focus. They get comfortable. It's like, okay, now we're playing in the backyard again. This is fun. We don't have to – I'm going to take this next play off, or I'm not going to track back. And that's why I was trying to highlight De Vera a little bit there. Of course, I always highlight left backs because that's what I do. But his willingness to track back in a moment where he could be like, you know what, I think the defense has us covered here. It's not a dangerous position. Is that commitment, and you want to see that. And a guy like Jesse Marsh, who's in the stadium today, he's noticing those things. He's paying attention to those things, and those are skill sets that you have to be able to prove week in and week out if you want to continue to grow as a player.
And what's so big for these young players is they know Jesse Marsh is actually watching because he's watched the players in the past that he's brought through. And so sometimes it feels like lip service at times from some coaches, like it all matters. Everyone's in our depth chart. Everyone's in our conversations. But if you're a young player like Nico De Vera, you get drafted out of college to New York Red Bulls, and you're the full-time starter at left back at New York Red Bulls too, you know you've got a chance to establish yourself here.
Absolutely, and that's the uniqueness of having these teams so interconnected and having this intimate relationship, is you actually do get to breed players. You do get to develop players. You do get to run them through the system. And you do get to, as a head coach or a sports director or a development academy director or whatever, get to have a close eye on everything that's going on.
Fernandez into the box to the far post for Fleming, saved by Loro. Junior Fleming's wide open on the far post. Evan Loro giving this Rowdies fan base flashbacks to last year's playoffs. Coming across the goal and making the save. Still alive now for the Rowdies. Cleared away by Cutler. This game really starting to generate some excitement here.
See from this replay here, it takes one poor turnover to create that counterattack. Dom does the best that he could to force him wide, slip that behind the back line. An incredible save from Loro to stay big, keep his body in the way, coming across. Fleming should have done better with that for sure, but you can't knock the goalkeeper's effort there to keep that on frame. Not only that, but to be able to keep it around him and not give up a rebound that could potentially be put back in for a goal.
We mentioned Leo Fernandez and Junior Fleming is getting them on the ball more. You see there, one of the few chances they get to get their legs stretched to get out and run, and they create probably the most dangerous chance of the game for this Tampa Bay Rowdy squad.
And this is, again, you've got a center midfield group that's young, and you need to have that balance of knowing that if one bad turnover can lead to a huge chance like that, you've got to take a hard look at it and think, where are we vulnerable? How can we seal that up so that that's not happening again? And of course, that's situational. That could happen anywhere. You give a square ball in the back line on a breakaway, that's nothing that a center midfielder can do. But knowing that at any point you're going to have to transition and cover, and that transition speed has to be immediate, something they've got to pay attention to.
Jack Blake absolutely furious with that call against him. There'll be a free kick here, New York. Moreno lets it through for Bonomo, and he makes it look easy. Stefano Bonomo makes it 3-0 New York Red Bulls to his first of 2018. Wasn't a lot in that one there, Heath, as we look at the replay, but it fell to the right man in the right place.
Yeah, it's an opportunistic run to the back post there. Bonomo not sure, likely not getting that ball when he makes that run, probably when he's looking across that back line, but sticks with the run, little deflection, feeds him right into the path, and then more than anything, he roofs that ball. That goalkeeper gets across there. Mizell attempts to make a save, but he roofs it. He puts it hard with pace. Makes it a 3-0 lead.
Stefano Bonomo, that is his 4th goal in 3 appearances against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. He likes green and yellow, so he gets it done once again. Substitution here for the Rowdies, as Sebastian Guenzati, the 26-year-old Uruguayan, comes in. An attacking change here. Junior Fleming's afternoon is finished. So both the New York Red Bulls 2 alumni get subbed out against their former opponent, or excuse me, their former team.
You know, and for David Najem, it's tough because of injury, but for a guy like Junior Flemings who had an opportunity like that, it's definitely going to leave a sour taste in your mouth that you had an opportunity to come here in front of your former team and score a goal and prove yourself just from a pride standpoint. Wasn't able to do that today. Is going to definitely leave him with longing for something more, I guess you could say.
That one goes over the top for Bonomo, drafted by New York in 2015. Went and tried his hand over in Europe at a couple teams, came back, ended up playing 9 games, had 3 goals that first year. In 2016, dealt with injuries, 26 appearances, 5 goals in that one, including a little bit of time at center back, as Moreno can't get a touch on that one. He goes from playing center back and 5 goals to last year when he scored 13 goals. As this one's called offside, a gorgeous finish at the end of it anyway. But 13 goals in 16 appearances in 2017, showing he's definitely not a center back. The guy is a true natural finisher and goal scorer.
It's funny you say that because he reminded me, and I think we may have spoken about it before, of a young Jonathan Spector who was also a striker when he was younger, and then he eventually became a center back and an outside back. But the times that I saw Bonomo play center back, I was like, he's a center back. You know, the way he moves, he reads the game, he knows.
Aguinaga's cross is cleared by Collins.
He knows where a striker's going to be at all times because he was a striker. You know, he had that sort of calmness on the ball that a striker has that you don't always get from center backs. But then you put him up top and he proves himself there, and you're like, okay, you're not going back to center back. You're a striker through and through, and you see with finishes like that he's got that touch in front of goal that sometimes you really just can't teach.
Technically right now, he's the lone striker behind Bradley Wright Phillips, a player who doesn't miss a whole lot of time. So he's getting his opportunity here, his second start, New York Red Bulls 2, in his 4th appearance. Moreno, no handball called against him there. Early cross from Moreno, and no one cutting across to put it in. He threw 65 minutes in. This Tampa Bay Rowdies team, now it's 3-0. So the patience starts to go out the door. They've made the substitutions, bringing Guanzati in. How do they get themselves back in this game?
I mean, it is a belief system. One, it's pride at this point. It's pride to say we're going to keep competing regardless of the scoreline because, yeah, we're in a position where we're most likely going to lose. But we've had a few chances now we didn't finish. We could get a few chances again. If Junior Fleming's changed that, does that change the game? Probably. Could be. And just getting those opportunities because one goal can lead to 2 goals, and that's about as much as you can tell yourself at this point, besides saying, hey, we're the top team in the league and we're losing 3-0 away to a team that's less experienced and who we think is not as good as us and who took us out of the playoffs last year. We should have a little bit of pride to fight this out and make something happen.
This cross still alive. Laura punches it. He's down in the box. Rowdies player trying to get a shot on it. It's Ristoff, but he doesn't get it on frame. And then Escobar very casually turns away from pressure. Turns it over in a bad spot. Fernandez, his touch goes wide. Tampa Bay Rowdies looking for an opening to start their comeback. Although Heath Pierce has already buried them. That block's crossed. The first game between these two teams last year here in New Jersey was a 4-2 win by New York Red Bulls 2. The Loros now down behind the play. He had to come out there, Heath, in a little bit of a collision as he made that punch.
And it looked like for the last almost minute he'd been holding his head and goal. Went down a little bit, play continued, had to hop back up, play out the play, and then as soon as they cleared their lines, asked the ref to stop. And I believe typically anything that's indicative of a head injury is supposed to stop immediately, but perhaps the ref didn't see him.
The New York Red Bulls 2 backup goalkeeper right now is Scott Levine, UConn graduate in his first year as a professional outside of his redshirt year. Backed up, was the starter every year at UConn and trialed with New York over the course of the offseason to earn that spot. Rafi Diaz, who was a longtime backup, leaving New York Red Bulls at the end of last year as Evan Loro took over that starting position full time. And it looks like Chris Lima is going to be the one to come on here for New York. And he comes on in place of Armando Moreno. We talked a lot about him to start this game. Heath, a player that you knew 5 years ago as a professional, just 17 years old, now at 22, back here with New York Red Bulls too. What did you see from him today?
Well, I saw what I've seen from him all along as a guy who's better at hold-up play than people would give him credit for because of his size. He's dynamic. He's always going forward. He can stretch a back line. And you saw with the opportunity he created for Bonomo, who didn't ultimately finish that chance, that he can also set up a pass. And I think today he had a good match, and though I don't other players to flourish as well.
We've kind of seen over the last 5-10 years the death of the true 7-11 wingers who stick to the lines, chalk on their boots at all times. As this one comes in for Fernandez, Laurel makes the huge save. Schaefer follows it up, beats one defender, unleashes with the left foot, and it's just wide of the post.
It's an attack like that that makes you realize just how quickly they're capable of shutting off and how quickly Tampa Bay Rowdies are capable of flipping that switch on. They look like a completely different team for those few moments. But it was, again, everybody stretched out of position. It's an incredible save again, and that's exactly why Evan Loro is as good as he is, because without having a lot of action, he stays tuned in, and makes the play that he's capable of making. A lot of other goalkeepers would have froze there, not known what to do, not known what to do in that position. He came out, made the right save, made the right decision. But again, you've got 4 guys in the back line. You shouldn't be in a position where you've got the Dom being pulled all the way across diagonally to the other side without cover from Escobar, without cover from a center midfielder, without cover from your outside backs. And in that moment, one square ball puts Fernandez through for a huge opportunity.
This game could be very different right now. Junior Flemings denied right on the goal line to make it 2-1 by Evan Loro, and then Leo Fernandez there. Also, Dikembe Mutombo by Loro. Right now, the Rowdies still trailing 3-0 here. So we enter the final 20 minutes of this one. David Goss and Heath Pierce alongside you at Red Bull Arena. Schaefer with this free kick to the far post. And Rivas heads it away. The Rowdies have Joaquin Graf up off the bench. He took off his penny, ready to come on. After that last big chance, though, Stuart Campbell sent him back to continue warming up. So clearly liked what he saw in that attack. Not ready to make his change yet. Tenari floats this one to the far post. Put it away by Collins. Rivas turns the corner. Tries to cut it back again. And just at the last second, a touch on it. Schaefer now, 1-2 with Fernandez. And then doesn't have the support he thought he did and plays it out. Hear exclusive stories directly from the USL's players and USLsoccer.com's From the Pitch with written and video content that provides unfiltered access and a first-person look into the professional game and players' everyday lives. Long touch there by Lima. You can see Speedy Williams, one of those players at Louisville, but was a champion in the USL Cup with New York Red Bulls 2 years ago, and then Louisville last year. If you're the guy who leaves a team that lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the champions, and then the next year you win in the exact same matchup and you win, you're like the sole reason at that point, right?
At least you say you are.
Yeah. I mean,
you take that to the grave, man. That's you are the difference.
It's quick math.
Yeah.
Like, it's obvious. That one's banged out. It'll be a throw-in as Brian White's preparing to come on for New York Red Bulls 2. Graf also now has his penny off, so some subs coming either way for these two teams. It'll be the final sub for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. It'll be New York's second of their 3. As we mentioned, both these teams will take on Western Conference competition as the Tampa Bay Rowdies play Real Monarchs next week. The New York Red Bulls 2 travel across the country for LA Galaxy 2. Casares Jr. missing out on that one. And Carlos Rivas' afternoon will be done. 73 minutes of play, an assist for the young Colombian. Brian White now will check in. As a player we were very interested to see because we were surprised a little bit that he was even here to play with New York Red Bulls too. We wanted to see him be a difference maker, be consistent. He had flashes, as he always does. Was it enough?
I mean, he set up Escobar for the opener, right? He was involved in that. I would like to see him on the ball more often because he is a dangerous player. He's powerful, he's quick, and he's the kind of player that you can tell when he hasn't had touches in a while, he sort of fades out of the game. His confidence goes down a little bit. His body language changes. He gets a little bit frustrated. And you want to see a guy like that active all the time. You want to see him on the ball. You want to see him comfortable. And you want to see him thriving. And in order for him to do that, he's a crafty player. He likes the ball at his feet. He's got to they've either got to find him or he's got to go and find it. And I think today was a little bit less than I would have hoped, but all in all, I think he had a good performance.
When he got traded in the Sasha Kljestan trade to New York Red Bulls, you just thought that speed, that size, that strength in the pressing system could be really fun to watch. Question, though, is what position does he fall in, and can he do enough work off the ball, as you said, and find the game often enough to be a difference maker. 2 goals already in MLS play, an assist here in his USL debut. So the final sub of the game, Joe Cole, who went 85 minutes last week, the most minutes he's played in this season. Coming back from an injury, now he gets 75 here in New Jersey, as Joachim Graf will come on. Graf, a true striker, so it looks like Ristov's going to drop a little bit deeper, have that partner up top here for these final 15 minutes.
You know, and this is one of the issues that when you have this much experience, when do you make changes when things aren't working, you know? Do you want to be the guy that takes Joe Cole off of on the field? Of course, you know, he had been regularly substituted earlier throughout this young season, but you know, knowing when to make that right change when a guy's not working, regardless of who it is important. And now you have a second attacking option. 15 to go. Could it have helped 10 minutes ago? Maybe. We'll find out.
Graf, 28 years old, out of Texas, spent the early years of his career over in Scandinavia, in Sweden, as well as Finland, before coming back to the United States. Played last season with Rochester, scored 11 goals, including 1 versus New York and 1 versus the Tampa Bay Rowdies. This one almost squeaks through for Ristov. So you get a true number 9 on the field up top.
Now this is about, for the Red Bulls too, it's about how do you make the adjustment now. If both your center backs are
dangerous tackle there by Jack Blake, so it'll be a yellow card to the young Englishman, as Casares Jr. went rolling.
Tackle there, frustration, professional foul, but make sure he leaves a little bit extra for
a little signature.
Young players. Yeah.
John Hancock on the back.
Exactly. But again, now you're playing against 2 strikers. How do you make the adjustment? Where does everybody need to be on the field? You talk about, again, philosophy of how you play. How you play against a single striker is going to be very different than how you play against 2 strikers. And that's just not for the center backs or the back line. It's for the holding midfielder, the attacking midfielder. Where do the wingers have to drop in? Those adjustments are hugely important, and these are real-life scenarios where they have to think on the fly, because you can't have Coach Walnick yelling all the answers. These guys have to be able to solve problems. And part of being a player at the higher levels is being able to be intelligent enough to solve problems, have that situational awareness, and know, as a center back, when we move to 1 striker system, when we're playing against 1 striker versus 2 striker, what do I have to do? What are the things that I have to do to be successful in this position? Because now you're matched up one-on-one. You don't have the time that you had before.
Heath, your background as a defender, help explain to fans a little bit how a team could play 5 in the back and struggle defensively, and then play 4 in the back and currently be shutting out one of the most dangerous teams in USL. For these players, especially for these center backs, as Endom here struggles a little bit with this one and finally clears it, shouldn't it just be easier if there's 5 back there?
You would think, but a 5 is also sort of a fake 3, you know what I mean? Like, if your wing backs aren't committed to being the most two-way players on the field, you get punished. You get found out, and you will get sort of schooled in some way, right? With three center backs, these are plays that have to know how to play with 3 center backs. You have to know how you move. You have to know your spacing, your gaps. When does that center back have to step out of that space, or is he pushing those other 2 center backs around him onto man marking, and he's floating and reading the game a little bit more? Those are all the things that you have to learn. And so on paper it seems like, oh, we have more people behind the ball, but more people behind the ball, unless you start to initiate that pressure and know when you press, when you drop, it means really nothing, and could lead to a lot more problems. And typically that's why you see when teams do a 3-man back line or a 5, it either goes really right or it goes really wrong. You know, it takes a while to get used to. But once you finally get used to it, you're starting to see it more and more often in the game now.
Rowdies get to the end line here, and their cross goes straight into the side netting. ESPN Plus is the new streaming home of the USL in the United States. Watch all the action throughout the 2018 regular season and USL Cup playoffs. Of course, this weekend is our debut on ESPN Plus. You can visit uslsoccer.com for more details and schedule. This Graf not able to get a clean touch on there. Restove looking to put in the path of Graf, and his shot goes just wide. Starting to see those two strikers work together, though, here in their early minutes. Heath, for you, you were a left back most of the time, although you moved inside later on in your career. Did you like playing in a 3 or 5 man back line in either of those roles, or did you prefer a normal or a traditional 4?
If I was playing at Real Madrid, it would be pretty fun to be a center back or a wing back in that system. But the commitment that it takes when you start to change into those systems on those 3-man back lines for a wing back, if you don't keep the ball well, you're just sprinting up and back as an outside back the whole game. If you don't have that type of
Graf putting the pressure on here, but Laurel gets there first.
Balance. If you don't have that type of spacing, players are getting time on the ball, they're turning, you're getting pulled in and out of positions. It feels very foreign, and so if you don't train it well, if you don't get on the same page, it's not a great experience. But when it is working, it's pretty fun because you know where all the answers are, you know where your space is, you know where your passing lanes are, just like that.
Good work here, Casares. An interchange with 3 or 4 teammates. Finally, it goes wide for Cutler. Cutler now plays it down the line. White with the cross. It's blocked by Collins. And then he clears it from his seat. And now Tampa Bay Rowdies trying to break out. Ristov's pressured in. But we've seen that interchange, especially Tenari and Casares in that central midfield. You mentioned, if you have one extra player, you can solve problems. They've consistently created overloads and triangles for their team to play out of.
Absolutely. And now you're seeing finally on the opposite side with the Tampa Bay Rowdies, a little bit more connection. So you're allowing Christoph to come off of his line a little bit, come off that top line. You have Graf moving around, and you're starting to see a connection between attackers, which they never had. There was such a disconnect between the lines. The midfielders were deeper. You have a striker that was isolated. Everybody was checking underneath. No one was stretching anybody into the channels. And now with a guy who can move like Graf, that's going to body up, he's going to do all that dirty work. Christoph's able to drop underneath, stay more connected, and actually connect that midfield to the attack. Just might be a little bit too little too late at this point.
Guanzati not happy with the call against him. A handball as he tried to block that one. Familiar to the area. Grew up in Fresh Meadows after moving from Uruguay with his family. Played for the New York Cosmos for 3 years just across the river, and now in his 2nd season with the Rowdies. It's interesting how things go in phases. You look at 3 in the back, 3 center backs. It was popular, and then it goes away for 20 years, and it comes back, and everyone thinks they invented it. But it is interesting to see how the profile of players change generation to generation, because you look right now around the world, there aren't a ton of large, mobile, elite center backs. So if you can put guys like a Nacho Monreal, right, or a player like yourself, who was a fullback but has enough physicality to play inside and seem to protect them a little bit, it seems to be working for a lot of clubs around the world.
Well, I loved it because I was able to take the skill sets that I had as an outside back.
Bonomo now looking for a teammate to set up. Skips by the first defender, finds his teammate in white, and makes it 4-0. The New York Red Bulls, too, routing the top team in the Eastern Conference, the Tampa Bay Rowdies, here at home. Ryan White, an elite goal scorer last year in PDL for New York Red Bulls U23s, and now he's got his 3rd goal already here in 2018 with New York Red Bulls too.
And that's just great there to fake the cross, clips it over him, gets himself into the box, able to look up with so much time. It really makes that square pass look easy, but he slots it between 3 guys, 3 experienced guys at that, and again, all he's got to do is redirect it, keep it on frame, and does just that.
We have complimented a number of players here today, but you look at what Stefano Bonomo has done in a year in which he gets signed to the MLS team, that doesn't play any CCL minutes, makes one appearance in Major League Soccer so far, and now in just his second start in USL, committed throughout the game. We mentioned that far post run, making the effort to get there for his goal. And now he sets up Brian White here in the final 5 or so minutes.
And he's the kind of player that every time that I've seen him play, his body language is the same. He goes about his business, he works hard. And sometimes he has his better days than others, but he just works hard, and you know what you're going to get from him. Every single time he steps out on the field, he makes the hard runs, the hard angles, and really just wreaks havoc on the back line. And especially today, it's been a joy to watch.
So in the stoppage during the goal, New York Red Bulls 2 making their final substitution. Jared Stroud of Colgate University coming on here. De Vera doesn't handle it cleanly, but does just enough to at least put it out for a corner. So Stroud, it looks like, coming on for Jose Aguinaga, who had the second goal of this one for New York Red Bulls 2. Headed down off Fernandez. For New York Red Bulls 2, Heath, progressively throughout this game, every time they've scored a goal, we've said, what do they have to do now? How do they have to prove that they can close this game out? They gave up chances. Rowdies created 2 really great looks, 3 or 4 really dangerous situations that Laurel came up big in. But at the end of the day, you look at 4-0 against the top team in the Eastern Conference. It's a perfect afternoon for this New York Red Bulls 2 squad.
Absolutely. The only thing that they can do now is close this game out with a shutout. You know, that's a bit of pride. That's a bit of
a clean sheet's a defender's goal, right?
I guess so. I guess so. But man, you flustered me now with that one. Yeah, that's a good accent. You did a good job.
Thank
there.
you.
No, but you know, you finish it out with a clean sheet because that's also the job of the defense. That's also the job to show we're not going to let off. We know we can give up one. We're going to keep making the plays. Finish this off with a clean sheet because 4-0 goes back to the drawing board. You go back to the video. You go back into the locker room feeling a lot different than, oh, man, I know we all let off for that one play, but we gave up a goal, and it was stupid of us, you know.
New York Red Bulls 2 will jump the Tampa Bay Rowdies in the standings. I think it's safe to say. Although I could qualify it with if they are able to hang on and win this one. New York Red Bulls 2 will move to 10 points on 5 games played. Right now, Louisville City FC and Tampa Bay Rowdies on 9 points. New York Red Bulls 2 setting themselves up. Last year, they struggled out the gates in 2017. It's now Stroud's charging forward. He was looking for Bonomo, but couldn't hit it in stride. So for the Red Bulls 2, a much better start here to 2018. Don't forget, you can have your say on who becomes USL Player of the Month, as well as USL Goal of the Month and Save of the Month. Go cast your votes at uslsoccer.com. And as we mentioned, New York Red Bulls 2 head to face the LA Galaxy 2 next week. Then they go up to Canada for their second match of the season already against TFC 2. They stick in Canada for a midweek match at Ottawa before coming home to play Nashville SC. And that'll be, of course, at Red Bull Arena, so come on out if you are in the area. Tampa, as we've said, will go East versus West against Real Monarchs at Al Lang Stadium next Saturday. We'll then go on the road for matches against Charleston Battery and Penn FC. And there is the 5th one, finally for New York. Brian White, it looked like, may have gotten it a few moments ago. They couldn't finish the sequence, and now Brian White comes off the bench for 2 goals. He's got 4 on this young season already. Well, Heath, if you're going to be a substitute, you might as well come in and sit on a hat trick.
Must be a nice feeling, you know, you're proving yourself. Deep down, you feel like you should be getting the start. Now you get a few minutes, and they say make the most of it, and you actually do that. You do exactly that.
New York Red Bulls, too, rampant here at home against the top team in the Eastern Conference. And at this point, you look at this goal, this is a statement to this league. You drop 5 on the Eastern Conference leaders on an established veteran squad like the Tampa Bay Rowdies. People are going to take notice.
And they're making these goals look easy, but that ball to the back post reminded me of a young Freddie Ljungberg who would cut back onto his good foot, cut it back to the back post, really whip it in with pace, making it hard for defenders. The goalkeeper doesn't know what to do. He freezes, defenders freeze, and then that header from start to finish, you can see he jumps with full control, knows exactly where he's going to put it, nails it to the back post without any chance for the goalkeeper to make a save. I mean, a lot of these goals today have been far beyond average finishes.
From front to back, a strong performance. Evan Loro making 2 or 3 incredible saves. The back line for New York, yes, they have the shutout, but in watching them, cleaning the tackle, not over fouling, not making mistakes, midfield control for New York Red Bulls too, and then the finishes up top. If I asked you to pick one, would you have a man of the match?
I mean, I'm going with Dom or obviously Bonomo. He's been so busy up there, and on a day like this, yeah, you want to give it to somebody that's made Loro's job. I mean, Loro's had a couple big saves too. I mean, it's just been a very, very good team performance. Everybody's pulled their weight, done their job. Not only their job, because part of your job is covering for the teammate next to you, not just doing the things that happen in your space of the field, and that's been great to see. So my answer is no, I don't have a man of the match for you.
On the flip side,
or not one anyway.
On the flip side for the Rowdies, they'd only trailed once this year, a 1-0 loss at last year's champions. A 5-0 pasting here. The New York Red Bulls too. So they've got a lot to consider, and it's not going to be easy. They face the best team in the Western Conference, Real Monarchs, in 1 week. And that'll be it. New York Red Bulls 2, a 5-0 win. A goal in the 18th minute from Fidel Escobar gave them the lead to head into halftime. Within 10 minutes, they made it 2. Jose Aguinal's second goal in back-to-back weeks, and then the blowout was on. Bonomo and Brian White with 2 off the bench as New York Red Bulls 2 racks it up and wins 5-0 here over the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Heath, you look at this performance, if you're Coach Wolenek, you're going to love this post-game talk.
Absolutely, and there's still things that you could take from it, because like you said, there was a few moments in there where that game can change, where you let off, you're a little bit vulnerable, they're not able to capitalize. Junior Flemings has that chance. Laura doesn't make those saves, that can change. But overall, you're like, this is one where we win, we learned a lot, we played really well, and we played our system, and I think that's something to be proud of.
New York Red Bulls 2, USL Cup champions in 2016, USL Eastern Conference finalists in 2017, and they have started 2018 on a tear. The second time they've put up 5 in just their 3rd home game of the season. A 5-0 win here at Red Bull Arena. We'll be back in just a moment with all your post-game coverage here on ESPN+.
With MSG Go, the game goes where you go. So you can watch live Red Bulls games anywhere you want. It's free and easy because if you get MSG, you get MSG Go. Watch your favorite team wherever you are with MSG Go, presented by Lexus. Download it for free where you get your apps.
One of the nation's leading heart programs. shared sense of compassion, innovation, and expertise. Perfectly orchestrated so your world never misses a beat. Hackensack Meridian Health. Life years ahead.
Well, we were promised goals here at Red Bull Arena at the start of the afternoon, and we got them as this season springs to life. The New York Red Bulls 2, a 5-0 win against the #1 team in the Eastern Conference, the Tampa Bay Rowdies. And Heath, let's take a look at these highlights, and it's going to be pretty red and white as this New York Red Bulls 2 team rattled off for this 5-0 win. It all got started in the first half by the center back, Fidel Escobar.
It's a great touch there again. Looks up, finds the spot that he wants in the goal, hits it clean, right off the foot, goes up 1-0.
Stefano Bonomo setting up Jose Aguilar here. Back-to-back weeks, his first 2 professional soccer goals, a quality finish.
Again, Bonomo doing the dirty work there, but Aguinaga, incredible finish to the back post, slots it home, makes it look easy.
And then Bonomo gets the reward for all his work. He makes the far post run and roofs this goal.
And as we said, he's the kind of guy that does the hard work. He does the dirty work. The odds of that getting to the back post and to him are very, very low, but he makes the run anyway. It's opportunistic, and he roofs it, finishes it well.
And Armando Moreno will probably try and claim that as an assist as well for himself. And then Bonomo continued to work hard, skips by the defender here, sets up Brian White for his first of 2 goals as a substitute here today.
And that calm there to just take that touch over him and then slot it between those defenders is a skill set in itself, and Bonomo is just showing the quality that he has consistently now.
Another substitute to substitute goal, and Brian White rising up on the far post and heading it in to the back stick as New York Red Bulls 2 rout was finished here in stoppage time.
Top quality ball, top quality finish all day long.
New York Red Bulls 2. Not a lot to see in the stats that you didn't see in the game in the end. The 2 teams finished 10 on 10 in shots, but 6 on frame for New York Red Bulls 2 and only 2 for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. It was a scrappy one, 5 yellow cards between the 2 teams, and in the end, the Rowdies 52% possession, but 53% New York at halftime. The Red Bulls 2 really felt comfortable, controlled this game.
Absolutely, 6 shots on goal, but 5 of those were goals. Means they were clinical, but it wasn't just there. They were clinical everywhere on the field. Defensively, they were organized. Midfield was organized, and it was just an all-around, well-rounded performance today from the Red Bulls 2.
New York Red Bulls 2 get it done here at home. A chance for the fans to see the future of the club and Coach Wolnick's squad starting to roll here at 3-1-1 early on the season. Thanks so much for joining us here on ESPN Plus. For myself, David Goss, and here's our head producer, Richard Kaufman. We thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.